Trade before the draft. It always happens. Mikal Bridges heads to the Knicks. The Knicks send out everything. The Rockets make a move with the Nets. It's all happening, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I also went to Villanova. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. The summer is here. Sports have wound down a little bit. We've still got the WNBA. There's still Major League Baseball, but not everything is running. So FanDuel is going to give you something to do. They're going to give all customers a boost or a bonus daily. That is right. Something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms. All right, trades, let's go. Every year, there is a trade that goes down. Actually, I should have told you this. Double bang me. Thumb it up. Please. Love it. Every year, there's a trade, it seems, that goes down 1 to 2 days before the draft. Last year, Bradley Beal and Chris Paul. 2 years ago, Russell Westbrook. Someone else the year before that. It's always something. A day or so before that happens. And here we are with a huge one. We've been talking about Mikal Bridges trades for a while, and it happened. When Mikal Bridges had that little run at the end of that season for the Nets, I was very adamant about selling absolutely sky high in Dynasty. And this is one of those things you need to look at. When someone has this little run as the number one guy and you look at it and you go, yeah, you're never going to be a number one guy long term, you got to cash in on it. And we saw it already fell apart this year. And now he's moved into a situation where he goes back and is the third guy, I guess, over in New York. Just blockbustery sort of stuff which changes the entire landscape, not of the NBA, not just of the NBA. Well, yes, the NBA. The NBA season, the NBA draft, NBA free agency. Everything's thrown apart here. We've got Woj saying that the Rockets are making overtures for Kevin Durant and Devin Booker from the Suns. The Nets literally going full rebuild. What does this do for anything? There might be a million interesting things that happen as we try and process this big deal that went down. So, what was the deal? We saw it. Mikal Bridges, the first trade between the Nets and the Knicks in like 40 years. Bridges heads across from Brooklyn, heads across to the Knicks, and the Knicks reunite Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson all together from the Villanova championship team. That Knicks team is, well, it's still uncertain because we don't know exactly what they're going to be doing in terms of free agency, and we'll get to that in a second. But what is the details? What are the details of this trade? The Knicks, well, they receive Mikal Bridges. Simple stuff. Now, maybe there's going to be some extra parts of this trade. We'll talk about that in a second. The extra parts of this trade that come out later on. But at the moment, the Knicks receive Mikal Bridges. Cool. Easy. I would expect, I know as people see that people think this means that it's more likely that OG Anunoby leaves. I think it's literally the exact opposite. I think that going all in and sending all these picks out, you are extremely confident that you are bringing OG back. You are in a situation where you're saying we are winning a championship with this team. That is what we are trying to do. And I understand that. I understand that they think they can do that, and maybe they can. This does not mean that they cannot pay OG Anunoby. It doesn't mean that. Now, the problem can be in terms of, because of the way this trade has appeared, that it could end up hard capping them at the first apron, which would make things a little difficult to bring back Isaiah Hartenstein. What I would also suggest is their 2 first-round picks, almost, I don't know if those are going to stick around necessarily. They've got a really smart front office in terms of cap management. So there are certain things they can do. Now, I believe if they send out Daquan Jeffries or Mamadi Diakite in this trade, it might reduce or it stops them being hard capped at the first apron, making the likelihood of them bringing Hartenstein back clearer or easier. But there are a lot of things to still happen here, and it's going to probably require other moves and maybe a couple of dumping of assets to create the space. But to me, this means that OG Anunoby is coming back without really any question. The Hartenstein one becomes a little bit trickier. They may not literally, like we already know that they couldn't match a contract that went to like $80 million anyway. They couldn't match $20 million a year if someone offered that because of the rules. And now they're in a situation where I don't even know that they can match like $15 million if someone offers that because of the first apron, if they are hard capped. Now that gets a little bit into the minutiae, and we'll find out where that ends up in the end. But if I had to grade it, I would say that it is very, very likely that OG Anunoby is back for the Knicks, and probably more on the unlikely side that Isaiah Hartenstein is back. But you could also make the argument, and plenty have, that maybe does this mean that they're dumping Julius Randle? I don't know. In order to dump somebody, you've got to have somebody willing to take them. And would you have to give up assets to get off of Randle? Would another team give you assets to get Randle? I don't know. But at the moment, what we do know is that some of these guys, like Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart, who really stepped up with big minutes and big fantasy production at the end of the season, their path to doing it this season is nil. It's gone. Healthy Randle, healthy OG, the addition of Mikal Bridges, both Hart and Dante are going to come off the bench, that means. So, will I draft OG in the top 100? Almost definitely not. Will it have an impact on Brunson? Probably a little bit. Usage down with Randle back. Are we touching Bridges in the top 50? 100% no. Absolutely no chance in the world that we would do that. Probably not even the top 80, to be honest. Now, it probably does help his efficiency quite a bit, but his usage will drop back down. I don't think it goes back to Phoenix Mikal Bridges, but these are the things that we need to see exactly how this team shakes out. But I would expect you're going to have Bridges, OG, Randle, Brunson, and then Robinson. I'd love it to be Hartenstein. Don't think it's going to be that. And then you have Hart, DiVincenzo, McBride coming off the bench. You have Achua, who I guess they bring back, but they may not be able to afford that either. And then see what they do with other minimums and free agents and all that sort of stuff. So, a big bet, a huge bet in order to be able to bring Mikal Bridges in. We'll talk about what they gave up in a sec. But this does not preclude OG Anunoby returning. Some think that this might mean that OG is annoyed that someone who plays a similar position is going to be there. I don't think that's a problem at all. This makes this team not the favorite because Boston exists, but in the East, pretty much up there. It's huge. It's a big gamble. You're giving away a lot, and if it does cost you Hartenstein, that does hurt. But I'd rather have Mikal Bridges than Isaiah Hartenstein. Would I rather have Mikal Bridges and 5 first-round picks? I'm not sure. So what did they give up, the Knicks? Well, the Nets end up getting 4 unprotected first-round picks. They get a protected first-round pick, which belongs to Milwaukee. They get an unprotected first-round pick swap. They get a second-round pick, and they get Bojan Bogdanovic's $19 million partially guaranteed deal. I've got no idea what to tell you about Brooklyn because they are and by no means finished. We don't know what happens with Nick Claxton. Does Ben Simmons come back on this team? What happens with Dennis Smith? What happens with... I assume that they'll be giving a lot of opportunities to Cam Thomas to take a lot of shots and lose a lot of games. So they got their first-round pick back, which we'll talk about in a second, to get Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey, probably Cooper Flagg, in the next draft. This could be a huge opportunity for Noah Clowney if they let Nick Claxton go, or Day'Ron Sharpe. Do they shed the salary of Cam Johnson? It's really hard to take a full view of what the Nets are going to be able to do here because they've clearly just said, we're done. We're out. We're tearing it down. So there's going to be a lot of different things. Dorian Finney-Smith, I'd imagine he goes. Maybe they get back into the first round of this draft and make a draft pick because they don't have a pick in this draft at all. So we'll see what they do with that. 4 unprotected firsts, a protected first from the Bucks, an unprotected swap, a second, and Bojan Bogdanovic. For Mikal Bridges, who was part, of course, of the Kevin Durant deal. We'll get to Kevin Durant in a second. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships as well as getting all of your parts from eBay Motors or Villanova. It's what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, or players from the 2016 Wildcats championship team, eBay Motors has it all. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your first round draft picks back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, it is easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to US customers. So, the Nets get all of that. 5 firsts, one of them protected, a second, a swap, and Bojan Bogdanovic. Now, Bojan Bogdanovic and Cam Johnson, hard for me to see those guys playing a lot together. Does Bojan just get waived? Does he get traded on somewhere else? Don't know. He's 35 and he looked pretty cooked last season, Bogdanovic. Is he going to be destined to just putting up numbers on terrible teams? I'm not sure. It is a very, very, very weird situation in Brooklyn, again, that we're just not going to find out about until a lot of the off-season stuff is settled. But Brooklyn wasn't finished there. No. They had another deal that they were making. They made a deal with Houston. This is what enables them to tank. They got picks back. They got their 2026 first-round pick unprotected back, part of the James Harden trade. We know why they don't have a pick in the 2024 draft. It's from the James Harden trade. So the Rockets' pick 3 is actually the Nets' pick. Reed Shepherd, probably. We'll see. But that's the Nets' pick. And they said, no, enough of this. We're getting our picks back. So they did. They got their 2026 unprotected first back from the Rockets. They got their 2025 pick swap back from the Rockets, and they're going to be terrible. And the Rockets would have had a chance to get number 1 overall pick. But they've got that now. The Nets have got it back under their control, so they are tanking. They are tanking hard. And they are going to be terrible. They might not win 15 games. So be aware of that. So how were they able to get those 2 things back from the Rockets? Because the rumor was they were trading Mikal Bridges to the Rockets at last deadline to get their picks back. Of course, that didn't happen, but it did happen now. What did they do? Well, some of the first-round picks that they got back from the Kevin Durant deal, well, they sent them to Houston. So Houston makes out, I think, pretty well. Now, obviously, that 2025 Nets swap seems awesome. But there is absolutely no way in hell that the Nets were trading Mikal Bridges away without having control of their first rounder in 2025. So it's not like they did this deal to send Bridges to the Knicks and then the Rockets went, oh, that's great. Now this 2025 pick, which is the most valuable pick in, that can change hands, the most valuable pick that's in play, we'll just send it back. There is no way that happened, right? That just never happened. They had to have had this organized. I'm not saying the Rockets were blindsided. They knew that this was the case. They knew that they weren't like saying, we're willingly giving up, we got blindsided. We didn't know we'd be giving up maybe the first overall pick. And that's why they got the 2025 pick swap with the Suns. So that was the Nets had a swap with the Suns, so the Rockets get that now. They get the 2027 Suns unprotected pick. And they get these weird first-round picks and swaps in 2029. The Nets, thanks to the Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving trade, had Dallas's and Phoenix's pick, and there's a whole bunch of weird interplay with those picks. But now the Rockets get a chance to get I think it's the best of the Dallas and Phoenix pick in 2029, plus they get the option to swap with the other one of those. So theoretically, Houston could be really good in 2029, Dallas and Phoenix could be bad, and Houston could get Dallas's first in 2029, and then they could swap Phoenix's first in 2029, as well as getting 27 Phoenix pick and 25 Phoenix swap. Now, what Woj is saying is that the Rockets did this so they have control of the Suns' picks, so that they can go to Phoenix and say, hey, you guys are in real trouble. This isn't going anywhere. Do you want to give us Devin Booker? How about you give us Kevin Durant? We'll give you your picks back. So if you tank, you're actually able to be bad and reap the benefits. Now, the Suns claim they're not doing that, but the very clear portion of that Woj tweet was this season. So if it doesn't work, if they still have no success, well, Booker, Durant, who knows, could be on the move, and Houston holds the cards. That is 4 big assets that the Rockets got back for those 2 assets again. The 2025 swap with Brooklyn could be the number 1 pick. It could be an awesome pick. So could 2026. But they're banking on the fact that, A, they've got 4 assets here, and they're going to be able to utilize that to maybe get Devin Booker, maybe Kevin Durant, or trade them with another team to get a really, really big-time player. That is what Houston was doing in this trade. So, wild stuff across the NBA. We'll come down and just finish off breaking that down in a sec. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Sports, we love them. That's why we're here. That's why we do this. That's why we get excited about this stuff. But during the summer, there's a definite slowdown of all the sports that are running. And that is why FanDuel has got something for you. Every day of the summer, they are giving all customers, not new customers, all customers, either a daily boost or a bonus. Every customer, every day, something for everyone, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. So there is still details, like I said, to come back from this trade. More importantly, about like what happens with the Knicks and Nets portion of it. Are the Knicks hard capped at the first apron? Does that mean that Hartenstein is definitely gone? Will they move on from somebody else in order to bring OG and Hartenstein back? Is Josh Hart, like he won't be, but look, is he expendable that Bridges there? Like he won't be. They won't do that. But they could move other guys off to be able to make sure they get Hartenstein back in. OG coming back, no question about it, is my opinion on it. I think you don't make the move unless OG is back. And they might have had to have sacrificed Hartenstein to do that, but they are pretty good. So we'll see what they're able to do with using these 2 first-round picks they've got as well to maybe be able to create the correct space to have that option there. An absolutely crazy day in terms of trades. The Nets making gigantic moves, which changes this season. It changes the 2025 draft. The Rockets positioning themselves to be a big player as well. And the Knicks saying, we're in. Let's go for this. We're going to try and win us a title this upcoming year. I didn't even mention the fact that Tom Thibodeau is now going to try to break Mikal Bridges' games played streak by just grinding him into dust. Now, Tibbs, my guy, if you are watching this, I know you are, you actually probably don't need to do that anymore. You've got pretty significant depth. Of course, that won't stop him, but you don't have to, and maybe you won't. I'll say this every time. He won't. He never does. But could you learn a lesson from the fact that everyone was injured by the time that the playoffs rolled around? And now that you've actually got some depth, you might not need to do that? I guess we'll find out. Wow, what a deal. What a day. What a trade. NBA Draft live show tomorrow, Wednesday, 26th, 8 p.m. Eastern. Join me over there. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.